Wawa. 1738. Yeah, boy. I'm flossing, pouring a drink, baby. 50K in my jeans, baby. I don't give a fuck what they think, baby. There's everything in the bank, baby. Hey, find one and go for it, baby. Hey, if you with it, then go for it, baby. Hey, you light up like a blowtorch, baby. Hey, and ain't no applause in, baby. Hey, I'm like what with the causes, baby. Hey, Zoo Gang, I'm the boss now, baby. Hey, Gritty made me a star now, baby. Hey, now they know who we are now, baby. I'm bent up, I just broke the bank. Roll backwards, all I smoke is dank. And I'm ballin', he fallin'. I don't know why his bitch keep calling. Hey, it's the Zoo Gang, Honcho and Zouville, baby. 1738, you know who near, baby. Left a lot of pussy niggas in the rear view, baby. I'll never let these pussy niggas near you, baby. In my past life, I hope it don't scare you, baby. Young Buster, get his ass chunked up and chugging like Wu-Tang, screaming out Zoo Gang. Who you came with? I went from the block to being famous. My mom was first to feel changes. I put so much cash, I swear it felt stranger. Catch me on the highway, beamers, no ranges. Big Zoo, walk ball hard, collect faces.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
I'm willing to condemn murder, more than willing, but not of white people. I'm not going to play in the hands of white supremacists.
Shoot to kill, Yamaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa.
Excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will bloom and we will benefit alongside you. So thank you very much for coming here.
I would like to add, again, on behalf of President Trump, Secretary Noem, we're just so grateful that you guys are here.
And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will bloom and we will benefit alongside you. So thank you very much for coming here.
I would like to add, again, on behalf of President Trump, Secretary Noem, we're just so grateful that you guys are here.
And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives.
Happening in South Africa is horrific, and it's not just Rob, it's true terrorism, because they'll take a baby and they'll put it in a microwave. They will, I mean, it's awful. So Trump is right to offer them refugee status because there is absolute discrimination. And again, it is a communist, the ANC government has direct communist origins. All the leaders of the ANC, where do they study? Patrice Lumumba University in Moscow. And the entire sub-Saharan anti-colonial movement was largely funded, organized, trained, enabled by the Soviet Union. And there is a huge amount of economic damage. Some of the countries are starting to come out of it. A lot of them are not. And then there's, you have competition for minerals now. The Chinese have really pushed into a lot of those areas because they really don't care about the rule of law. They will do black bag diplomacy, so they'll pay off. I mean, if you're a energy minister, foreign minister, or head of state from a target country that China wants to do business with, they bring you to China and they take you to the foreign ministry. In the basement of the foreign ministry, there's a vault you walk through with all kinds of safe deposit boxes, and they take you to one with your name on it, and it's filled with gold dory bars, cash, diamonds, and they say, this one's for you. Here's the key for it, as long as you play ball for us while you're in office. And so they do everything like that to undermine the rule of law. But there's actually been quite a bit of backlash, particularly in Africa, against that kind of Chinese investment, because the politicians get rich and the people get screwed. Because when the Chinese build a mine, they take everything with them from China. They hire as few locals as possible. They treat them horribly, and they don't buy anything from them. And so there is a great opportunity for Western capital that is responsible, because there's actually quite a bit more accountability and responsibility in our court system, in our public markets, that incentivize Western capital to behave well when they go abroad to do that. So that's really, I think it comes down to that global competition of governance philosophies. Is it responsible capitalism that is underpinned by the rule of law and some kind of human rights, versus a very centralized communist statist relationship where the people are effectively serfs ruled by a maximum.
The farmer, kill the poor, the farmer.
Guess what else happened in 2021? Catholic Charities USA, which is the nonprofit arm of the Catholic Church, they get selected to serve as the leader for multiple states by Joe Biden's Department of Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement. So this is a new designation that Catholic Church gets. They get a significant amount of money Like a lot. So you can go and pull up these 990s they're broken down into different states, right? 2021, the Dallas chapter of Catholic Charities USA get $43 million. In 2022, they get $140 million. In 2023, $290 million. The Houston chapter of Catholic Charities USA, same deal. 2020, they get $44 million. By 2022, $216 million. Catholic Charities USA San Diego chapter reporting $11 million in revenue on their 990. By 2023, $70 million. And what's interesting about that is in 2024, the Roman Catholic Bishop of San Diego filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy because they had to pay out claims for 457 allegations of sex abuse by these priests. So the San Diego chapter of Catholic Charities USA is getting a ton of money while the Catholic Church itself in San Diego is filing bankruptcy.
It's a huge deal, and here's why. Joe Biden gave the Catholic Church huge favor here, because if you are a church or you're an organization and you take donations and you are found guilty in the court of law and you have to pay money out and you have to declare bankruptcy, all that money you collected goes to the people, the creditors, the people that you owe the money to. The one exception, federal government grants. It cannot be touched by a court in the case of bankruptcy. So what Biden did was essentially set up a flow of funds
to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies. Cry babies.
I'm not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now.
I can't give a guarantee of the future, especially when things are going the way they are.
Subtext.
Especially if things are going the way they are, there will be a revolution in this country, I can tell you now.
We are not calling for the slaughter of white people, at least for now. That means at some future date, we may call for the slaughter of white people. Is that correct?
Let's deal with that at that future date. I don't know what's going to happen.
So you're saying you are not ruling out that in the future, you may very well call for the slaughter of white people?
It may not be me.
Could it be you?
It could be me, yes, but it may not be me.
Yeah, so it could be you. You could, at some future date, call for the slaughter of white people.
Shoot to kill the mother, kill the poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa.
What makes it different is that they are white South Africans. The president, in my view, has not hidden his racism behind a bushel. In fact, in his policies, whether it's removing government workers or, in this case, admitting white South Africans while denying refugee status, asylum seekers from other countries, principally Central and South American and Black nations, to come into this country. And so I think that, this policy, while it's not surprising in this action, really speaks of the underlying message in this that disrespects and shows disdain for people of color while embracing these Afrikaners now, and also expediting the process by which they can come into the country while denying that same process to other refugees.
And destroyed or stole their cattle. Were only allowed back onto their original lands to work for the whites, and their children die in the Bantustans for lack of milk. their land and destroyed or stole their cattle. Amerindia lied back onto their original lands to work for the whites, and their children die in the Bantustans for lack of milk. The wealth of the white farmers is built on the availability of cheap black labor. These men are cutting sugarcane near Durban. They start at 4 in the morning, they work 6 days a week, their pay is under 5p an hour, £2.20 a week. If you're born black, you start working young. This boy is 12. Foreign companies own a major share of every industry in South Africa. Agriculture is... This estate is owned by the British firm Tate & Lyle. Another British company, the Slater Walker Group, also has substantial interests in the sugar industry. Furthermore, the United States subsidizes the white sugar farmers by guaranteeing to buy a fixed quota of their annual crop. This is the typical home of a sugar farmer. And these are the quarters of his laborers. 8 men share this room. The discovery of gold transformed South Africa from an agricultural country into an advanced industrialized state. And it's the gold mines that have set the pattern for the inequality between white and black in industry. For the 400,000 black miners have never seen the wealth that's been created by the gold they mine. They have to work up to 3 miles underground in intense heat and humidity. The work is extremely dangerous, especially for the black miners. 18,000 of them have died in the gold mines in the last 30 years, an average of 3 deaths per shift. By law, miners aren't allowed to work more than 48 hours a week, but the black miners spend 60 hours every week underground. Their reward is 7p an hour, £4 a week. The white miners earn 16 times as much. The mining companies keep the blacks in compounds around the mines at a cost of £8 a year each. Here, the miners are queuing for their daily food. It costs the companies 9p a day per miner. Meanwhile, white South Africa gets richer and richer. She has more cars, telephones, fridges, cameras than any nation in Europe. In fact, she has more of every household goods except vacuum cleaners, because of the availability of cheap servants. For the coloureds, the Cape Flats, a barren piece of wilderness of sand and high winds, 20 miles outside Cape Town. It's been set aside for coloured occupation. Many of the coloured families thrown out of Cape Town have joined the 40,000 coloured families already without housing in the area. For them, the desolation of a shanty town. There is a rigid colour bar in all industries. No black is allowed to hold a position higher than a white. But the system of job reservation goes further and reserves all so-called skilled work for whites. The whites call it their civilized labor policy. Dr. Verwoerd, the last Prime Minister, was very explicit about the position of black workers.
There is no place for him in the European community above the level of certain forms of labor. The rigid colour bar is the basis for the inequality in the wages paid to black and white. The average income for a white family of 5 is £60 a week. For a black family of 5, it's £4.50 a week. And the gap has widened over the last 10 years. Under the master and servant laws, a black in many industries can go to jail for being absent from work, for trying to change his job before his contract expires, or for refusing to obey a command. Furthermore, black trade unions aren't recognized, and nearly all strikes are illegal. In fact, black workers have no protection under the law. As Dr. Kernhoff said while Minister for Bantu Affairs, African males from the homelands have no rights whatsoever in South Africa. They are only in South Africa to sell their labor.
The cheap labor system depends upon the government control of the movement of the blacks. This is exercised through the pass laws. All blacks over the age of 16 must carry a passbook stating the one area where he or she is permitted to live and the type of work he or she is permitted to do. Failure to produce your passbook on demand, lack of necessary permits or incorrect entries mean immediate arrest. In the towns, theatres, cinemas, hotels and restaurants are for whites only. There are no facilities for blacks. At lunchtime, the takeaway counter and the pavement are the blacks' only choice. This home is in a suburb of Johannesburg. 3 servants work and live here. They earn £2.40 a week. They're on call 24 hours of the day, 6 days a week. Their families are forbidden to stay with them here, for this is a white area. The servants' rooms are in the backyard and by law have to be separated from the house. Mrs. Gertrude Mbata has been a servant since the age of 15. Her husband lives 30 miles away in Soweto. She sees him once a week on her day off. She works so that they can pay for their 4 children to go to school. Since her children are forbidden to stay with her here, she's sent them 300 miles away to a relative in the Bantustans. She's lucky if she can see them once a year. Mrs. Ayante Nkosi looks after Melissa. She's one daughter of her own. Her only son died from malnutrition. Africans in the 19th century.
White Afrikaners who are coming to the United States. I think you've already landed here. And I know that some of the folks who met you at the airport told you, welcome, we're so glad you're here. Most of us aren't glad you're here, okay? We don't want you here. We never wanted you here. And furthermore, I noticed they're going to settle you in Idaho, Ohio, and North Carolina. I will tell you they're not our finest states, so they're a good fit for you. I understand that many of you are farmers, and I've seen a lot of people say, oh, that's great, we need more farmers. Sorry to say we don't. We actually need farm workers because we've deported most of them. So if you can, put your picking hat on and think about, picking produce, that's largely probably what you're going to be doing here because I hear you don't have a lot of skills. I would also say that you're not going to have to hold just one job, but probably 2 or 3 to make up for your quality of life that you had back in South Africa. There'll be no servants working for $2 a day. There's none of that here. So you're the servant who's working for $2 a day. So enjoy that. You're gonna have to pay for your health care, and ordinarily, because you're a refugee who's being discriminated against, you would go on Medicaid, but guess what? The Republicans just cut Medicaid. So I don't think you're going to have that option for healthcare. So maybe you'll do without. I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. I did notice that the Episcopalian Church had a program with the government where they would, they would resettle and help, refugees resettle. They find you all to be so onerous, they terminated the partnership with the government. And they said, yeah, we won't be resettling those folks. Other things that you need to know about. While we are 58% white here in the United States, that's not going to last much longer. Within the next couple of years, we're going to be the minority, which will be fun for you because that's what you're used to. Interestingly enough, we have a ton of Latinos. We're the second largest Spanish-speaking country in the world. So for you, if you could stop speaking that dirty, guttural, whatever it is, German, French, Dutch thing that you speak, that Afrikaans, nobody wants to hear that shit. So you can speak English or you can speak Spanish, which is really the second language here. In terms of other things that you need to know about, the black people in this country, they don't get fucked with, okay? I know that there's a long legacy of colonialism and all kinds of stuff happening in your country, but our black folks have sort of been through the fire, if you will, and they're not going to be fucked with. So you're the minority here. Enjoy. I really hope you like your time here. I'm going to bet my ass that you're going to be booking it back to SA probably within the next 12 months. Have a great day.
Do you believe the US president is deliberately lying about South Africa?
We don't know where he gets this information from and who informs him. What we just see as farmers in South Africa is we don't see a confiscation of land. We don't see large-scale land grabs in South Africa. What we see is at this stage still very reasonable, as is any country in the world. So we don't see what he's talking about, and that's why we thought we should just, from our side, set the facts straight.
Yeah. Does the wording matter? What is the difference between confiscation and expropriation? Because no doubt we have expropriated land. There was a law around that, but always with fair compensation.
Yeah, I think within our constitution, it states very clearly we should have a fair compensation for land, fair and equitable compensation for land. So that's still where we are, and that's also the preamble of the new act, quotes that from the current constitution. So as far as we are concerned, we still have the Constitution of South Africa, which we can rely on. We can take it to court. We can take this new act to the Constitutional Court as well, and they can say whether it's still within the Constitution or not.
Americans. My name is Bianca van Wyk, born in South Africa, live in South Africa. Today you will be welcoming the so-called white Afrikaans refugees. They are there based on an offer made to them, which I must say was informed by disinformation about South Africa. Now, I've seen a lot of takes on who Americans think they are receiving. Okay, you are not getting successful, professional, white, middle class South Africans that are fleeing South Africa. The people you are getting are the people that believe that there is discrimination against them based on their race. Keep in mind, we live in the most unequal country in the world. We have not an American, feel free to watch, but please try and get it to the Americans. My name is Bianca van Wyk, born in South Africa, live in South Africa. Today you will be welcoming the so-called white Afrikaans refugees. They are there based on an offer made to them, which I must say was informed by disinformation about South Africa. Now, I've seen a lot of takes on who Americans think they are receiving. Okay, you are not getting successful, professional, white, middle class South Africans that are fleeing South Africa. The people you are getting are the people that believe that there is discrimination against them based on their race. Keep in mind, we live in the most unequal country in the world. We have, for instance, 70% of agricultural land and agricultural holdings are owned by white South Africans. 62 to 68% of top leadership positions in corporate are filled by white males. There is a huge salary disparity between white South Africans and the rest of the population. And there are a number of other indicators which shows you that this story of discrimination based on race is false. Another thing that I wanted to say is that you will get certain so-called refugees that have experienced crime. However, in South Africa, no one is exempt. These people that you are welcoming assume because they're white, they should not experience crime. The people most affected by crime in South Africa happen to be black people that live in poverty. So as you open your doors and welcome people, and you're going to get a lot of information and disinformation from these people, please do keep that in mind. Oh, I also would like to say all the best and good luck to the Americans.
Mission in America for people fleeing war and famine in places like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Back with Rick, Mark, and Eddie. Rick Stengel.
Yes, it's so deeply and morally wrong-headed and repulsive. These are the descendants of the people who created the most diabolical system of white supremacy in human history, apartheid. They're not directly responsible for it, but it was a system that actually moved black people off of the arable land. So they inherited the land that the black people had to give up. It was called forced removal. It was something called a Bantustan policy, where they moved black people out of the cities and farmlands into these remote areas with non-arable land. I mean, it was just one of the most worst processes ever. But what has happened in this strange, bizarre world we're living in is that the Afrikaners have become the darling of these right-wing white supremacist movements around the world, that it's like the lost cause for them. It's like the old Confederacy. They're held up as these white Christians who are being dispossessed of their land. It's like this is a modern replacement theory in a country where, by the way, white people make up 7% of the population and own 78% of the farmland. So it's actually, there's no injustice here. As you mentioned, it's taking places away from refugees who are really being crushed by authoritarian governments and military governments. For these folks who have never had anything happen to them. I mean, Trump amazingly called it a genocide, one of the worst lies I've ever heard him say. There's just been a small handful of farmers that have been killed over the past 10 years. No land has actually been expropriated. So it's just a farce and a sham and a moral ugliness.
What happens now that he's taken this step?
I don't know. I mean, it's like a Batman movie or something where all the bad guys get collected under one roof. I mean, like, who else do you now go and find other racists who have repressed people and give them refugee status here? It's just, I don't know where it goes from here. But I mean, you even said it. It's like a headline from The Onion. I don't even know how to get more extreme than this.
You know, I think it's important for us to understand. That the Trump administration is a lot of things, but one thing it certainly is a white nationalist project. And oftentimes we don't want to describe it as such. I'm not reducing it to it because there's greed, there's graft, there's all sorts of things happening around it, but we need to understand the way in which great replacement